one individual by the name of Tucker Carlson that has decided to reach down and find a pair, little cutout from his speech just 2 days ago at TPUSA.
Real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of Intel Services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan?
Okay, so this is exactly a tiny piece of all of the information that is out there that people know about. That's about Epstein and his blackmailing operation, etc. This is just a tiny piece. These are all completely legitimate things. Tucker is right, should be able to be discussed. But of course, Jews who are more loyal to Israel than to the United States, which would make them what? Anti-white, a percentage of the overall Jewish population, anti-white. That's what we have a problem with. And unable, as a consequence, a la Laura Loomer, to discuss where we are injured by this nation state on the other side of the globe.
Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this...
Has it been that no one's ever tried? No. It's not been that people have tried, people have succeeded finding a great deal of information. That's why we have all this information. That's why, as Tucker says here, everyone he knows in Washington, D.C. believes credibly that Israeli intelligence, Mossad, were operating a blackmail operation in the United States that was ensnaring American wealthy power holders, Americans in office, prospective office holders, and then obviously the next step is to use the blackmail, the compromat information to ensure that they would favor Israel. Now, what have you seen out of the Brown boys, Bongino and Patel? Literally praising and saying that we have to put America, we have to put Israel first. Cash and Patel literally said, we have to put Israel first. Bongino, when asked in a recent interview, what is most dear to your heart? Bongino said, Israel. This is the influence of this country in the United States and in other Western countries, and the treason of, when it's in the West, anti-white Jews who put Israel ahead of the countries of their origin, the countries of their birth. Now, who can take up white well-being right now? Where will the arguments for the go-free strategy that I have created and that many other genius white men and women have contributed to, where can this find an amenable audience? Where can this be heeded with everybody who is wondering about why Israel is allowed to operate a blackmail operation in the United States? What can't work with all of these millions of white people who are being presented with the information about this treason, this infidelity of anti-white Jews, jingoist Jews for Israel in the United States? Well, you're not going to be able to go to our white brothers and sisters and tell them that Jewish people are born evil. They simply know that's not true. They know Jewish people who are good people. They know Jewish people who are concerned with America or Canada or etc. What if some of these Jews that white people know, conservative white people, normal white people, what if some of those Jews are lying to them? What if they're saying, you know what, I don't put Israel first, I put America first, but they're lying? What if that happens? Well, if you're using the go free practice, they're still caught in the net. Because the moment their actions or comments or logic, arguments that they make pivot away from the health of our countries, the health of the United States, it is easily and immediately identifiable as anti-white. So they're still caught in the net of whether or not they're going to be anti-white or not. This is a magnificent moment in history for white well-being, for the white race. We have an opportunity, and Tucker's got a lot more to say here. We have an opportunity to reach an increasingly amenable white race. They are going to reject claims that all Jewish people are evil, that Jewish people, if they're evil and they're always going to be traitors, what are the obvious conclusions about what has to happen for Jews? That all Jews, even innocent ones mixed in the group, are going to have to suffer some sort of injustice. They're going to have to be put under some sort of microscope. Their participation in power and how much money they can have is going to have to, and none of that's going to happen. White people are not going to participate in that. But patriotic white people are absolutely open to questioning the ability of a foreign state to undermine the welfare of our countries. Absolutely. In the very next breath, they're going to be amenable to transitioning to a focus on our people, that the country is us, to an argument that doesn't vilify all Jewish people, but does vilify the anti-white ones, the ones who will put Israel ahead of the United States, Israel ahead of Canada.
This guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into...
There are 7,000 people there at minimum cheering for Tucker right now saying that.
Thinking that that's naughty.
They didn't get to this point. Don't be confused. They didn't get to this point because of people who are Jay-spurging, who are saying that all Jews are evil, that Jews have too much power, that Jews are always going to injure white people. They didn't get to this point because of that.
There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA. That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting U.S. president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen.
You know what else? You are allowed to criticize the behavior and thoughts of people, not their birth. Do you see how what we're doing here slides perfectly right in to what is the argument Tucker is making? Really focus on the fact that Tucker is talking about a subject that is the third rail, Israel. And the audience, and he's talking about it in a way that the audience is able to receive. Note well that this is the exact same rationale for objecting to the behavior and thoughts of people when the behavior and thoughts are anti-white. When that behavior and thoughts endorses, engenders, creates, maintains the ideology of anti-whiteism. These things are, the rationale for both are identical.
And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interest. That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow, that that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house. You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that. I don't know any of them that hate Israel.
Now, let me point out there, too, there's so many lessons to take away, and so few people can get all of the lessons. How many times have you heard the schmucks, the awful, vile, garbage, anti-Jew spurgs who endlessly attacked me for decades? How many times have you heard them that you just need to tell people so that they can learn that the evil Jews are behind everything? Once they learn that the evil Jews are behind everything, then everything changes. Then you'll be able to persecute the Jews. Then you'll be able to deprive and divest them and everything else. Those are the natural outcomes for concluding that they're evil. And here you have me over the decades saying everybody who matters knows that the Jews have massive power as a group, as a people, a percentage of them, not every single individual, but there's a percentage of them that act as a people, individual well-being by way of group well-being. All of the wealthy people know this of every race. All of the white people know it. All of the people in government know it. The state governments, the federal government, they all know it. They've always known it. And here's Tucker saying they all know it. They all know these things. So all of this endless talk about focusing on Jews and how evil they are, has never been something that could benefit the white race. It could only undermine the creation out of a people out of our deracinated race. Everybody with wealth and power and etc. knows already about power wielded by a percentage of the Jewish population. My God, I've been right for all of these decades. And you know what? None of that scum is going to come back and apologize and say you were right, and yeah, we should be building a people instead.
But no one feels they can say that. Why? And I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes. So I think it's better just to say it right out loud. Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you. And I think our answer should be, no. As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not?
Yes, absolutely.
And yet,
not just here. What matters here is that in the vast majority of normal white households, will say yes to that.
Everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry, when it's not. It's a baseline question that every U.S. citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell was this? And by the way, if it turns out that it was nothing.
And that's the end of the clip